6310. I'd like to welcome everybody, and especially those in 6310, to this second evening of the Rotary Education Summit. As we talked earlier, the three districts are working together, and I think this is some awesome synergy. I like the word synergy as well as collaboration. So everybody from 6310, if you could just kind of do a wave, that would be great. Okay, next.
I'll go ahead and go. This is John Catlin, District Governor 6290, originally from 6310. At least my youth exchange years and early Rotary years in Midland. I want to thank everyone for coming. Those from 6290, if you want to give a shout out and a quick wave.
Hey.
Thanks all for coming. We appreciate it on the second night. Dr. Noel.
Okay, this is District Governor Noel Jackson from Super D 6400, and really glad to be part of this amazing program. And you know, I was so excited tonight. I just get to don my alter ego, Captain Rotary. So in acknowledgement of the outstanding work that Evan Burrell has done, we're glad to be here. So all the 6,400 people, wave.
Hey.
Okay, great, thank you. So with that, should we move into the program?
Yeah, did we get Evan back?
He's not
Evan's
back
not
yet.
back. Evan's not back.
Shortly.
Evan's not back? Okay.
Not yet. Do you know any good jokes?
Well, Samantha, how about if you introduce yourself as the facilitator?
Sure, yes, my name is Samantha. I am the Public Image Chair at District 6310. And I will be facilitating this tonight, which is just a really fancy way of saying that I'm going to introduce Evan. I'm going to ask you to please mute yourself while Evan is speaking. And also, if you are not familiar, there is a chat box. You can access that at the bottom of your screen. And as questions come to your mind as Evan is sharing with us tonight, we encourage you to put those questions in the chat box, and we'll address those at the end of the session. We'll leave some time for discussion.
How about those lions?
Yeah, amazing.
So while we're waiting for Evan, does anybody want to volunteer for a Rotary moment? Noel does. Okay, Noel, go for it.
Okay, my Rotary moment is today I finished up my last official visit. So, and of course, tradition is the last official visit is with your home club. And so we did a big hybrid meeting with, there were 12 board members in a room that we had, and then we had a big TV and hybrid in the Zoom with the rest of the members. We got about 80 members in Trenton Rotary, and it was fantastic. We had a great time.
Awesome.
Great.
Anybody else?
I'll share a Rotary moment.
Okay, Kathleen, go ahead.
We returned to in-person meetings last Wednesday for Traverse Bay Sunrise Rotary. Woo! In a new location, because our former location decided to change their business plan and we could not meet there any longer. So we are now at the Presbyterian Church in Traverse City in the gigantic fellowship hall where we could safely socially distance with masks and be appropriately served by the great church cooks. And it was the best turnout we've had in months. And we're still hybrid, so those who choose not to attend in person can, and those of us who are there, then there were 32 in-person folks there. So it was
good.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Kathy Bussell.
Hi, so Rotary moment today, our JJ Beckett Accessibility Committee was able to fund, it helps people with different access issues, fund with the help of Freedom Builders, a ramp for a local lady in need. amount of money, but it's going to make a big difference in her life. So that's pretty cool.
Great.
Cool.
Kathy,
Yes.
I see Mary Beth Growney Selena's on. Can we get her to turn her video on and wave to her?
Mary Beth, can you turn on your video and let us wave to you?
Hi, everybody. How are ya?
Hi, Mary Beth.
Great.
Great to see everybody. Thanks for having me. I know it's tomorrow night, but thanks for having me. This is such a great idea. Congratulations to all of you for doing this and for everybody that's participating. How fun.
Sure is. Lots of fun.
Kathy, I'll do a quick Rotary moment share here. This afternoon, fellow Rotarian in our club, Jay Doobie, and I presented Community Paul Harris Fellow to an individual who's been very active in our community. He was blown away by it. And kind of an interesting factoid, he and his family this year delivered 110,000 pounds of sweet corn to a food pantry here in Saginaw. So
Awesome.
exciting, great time. This is a farmer. We met him out at his shop, and it was one of those rewards that you really enjoy doing as a Rotarian.
That's awesome. I see we have Evan back. So Samantha, take it away.
All right. Well, good evening again, everyone. In keeping with our room theme, I hope you're all ready to start your engines for the second session of our summit. Just a reminder, please do mute your mics. Enter those questions that come to mind throughout Evan's presentation in that chat box, and we will make sure to address those. Anyone who has seen Evan speak knows we're in for a real treat tonight. As he mentioned, hailing all the way from Australia, Evan is a digital media consultant in the nonprofit community volunteer sector. He educates professionals, businesses, community groups across the globe. He focuses on practical use of social media and how to develop these platforms to brand and market their stories. Evan is an accomplished public speaker, an MC, a trainer, a social media advocate, and a hardworking volunteer. Evan has over 20 years of volunteer experience with Rotary International. You may recognize Evan best as a service-minded superhero. For Evan, it's easy to be a Rotary hero because, as he sees it, all Rotarians are superheroes, and we all need to promote the heroic acts that we do in the community and around the world. From his custom branded Rotary suits to his iconic superhero t-shirt, Evan proves that Rotary isn't all business. His message, "Let's have fun in Rotary," has helped members become engaged in telling Rotary's digital story. I think this couldn't be more fitting of a time for a speaker like Evan. He's going to share with us his keys to digital success. So with that, welcome, Evan. I'll turn the digital floor over to you.
Well, thank you very much. How wonderful it is to join you guys there today, and to see my friend Jeff all the way from Pigeon. I think you still live in Pigeon, don't you? And who visited my district, gosh, 12 years ago now, I think, wasn't it, Jeff? 2008, a long time ago.
Yeah.
And to see Mary Beth there as well, who I know. So I'm looking forward to speaking with you all today, and hopefully you'll get some little bits of information which might help you with your own clubs and districts and promoting Rotary. I'm not wearing my superhero shirt today. I've got my trademarked Rotary suit, but I do have a little, you know, my little Superman into, you know, my secret identity. So I'm going to start my presentation. And the basis of my presentation today predominantly is about promoting Rotary and how we do that, and just to share some tips. But I want to quickly go through my presentation because I would like to leave enough room for questions. And I said I've been involved for 20 years, so I certainly can answer a broad range. So I think I'm going to share my screen, and please, if you can, give me a thumbs up if you can see that. Perfect. Okay, great. So promoting Rotary. So some of you who follow me on social media, I'm very active on social media, particularly Facebook. I've got my own Facebook page called Evan Burrell Rotarian. It's about 20 25,000 likes or 27,000 followers or something. So quite a large following with Rotarians all around the world. And I put out graphics and promotions of Rotary and other bits and pieces out on there. And it's become a nice resource for people, as well as manage a Rotary graphics and ideas hub, which is an incredibly popular Facebook group as well, which is also generates some great conversations and things. So things that I do for the benefit of Rotary and to help us all, achieve the goal of getting our message out there. So let's start this. Here we go. So when we talk about Rotary, there's always the perceptions that are in the community. And, we do have a little bit of an image problem.
Hi, it's Lois Arroyan. I'm at home and I'm waiting for your.
There we go. Sorry, Lois, I've just muted you. So we don't necessarily have a huge image problem, but there's perceptions out there. And so the first perception is this. This is what people sort of think, old guys club. The next perception is that we all meet here, the Rotary Club of Jurassic Park. If you do meet at the Jurassic Park gates, well done. The next perception is that we are seen as a bit of a secret society. And this one actually is more prevalent than what we give it credit for. Like a lot of people do still think we're connected with Freemasonry or this other kind of thing. So that's certainly a perception. The next is that we are an organization that just is obsessed with chicken, chicken dinners. We're always, we're a very food-centric organization. Everything has to be associated with food. Our next perception is that, we just have boring speakers. That's actually image is supposed to be of a guy asleep. I don't know. He's suddenly woken up. The next perception is that we're just an organization that kind of funnels money from Peter to pay Paul. We just give out big checks, and we have cornered the market in big check presentations. And when I did do this presentation, I Googled, big check presentations, and I looked in Google Images, and, nearly all the Google hits were Rotary clubs giving out big checks. So we've got to think of ways of how we can, promote these Rotary a little bit differently and break some of these stereotypes and some of these perceptions. So we need to make bold statements about Rotary and about our organization. We need to be passionate, because people will respond to the love and passion that you have for Rotary. So don't be afraid to show it. It's really easy to do, and I do it. And now I'm not expecting you all to get your own tailor-made gaudy Rotary suit like I've got, but it's the biggest thing that for our organization is to be passionate about it, because people in the public, if they can see your passion for it, then that's something that will rub off and they may be interested in. If all we're selling is just our meetings and our chicken dinners, then we're not going to expect anyone who wants to be involved, to come along. We need to show our passion for that, and it is very easy to do. It's simply, wearing your pins or wearing a giant badge. Ask me about Rotary, or wear your pin with pride. Another thing is I own about 26 different Rotary t-shirts, and I try to wear them out in public as much as possible. You never know if it's a conversation starter. So, don't be afraid to sort of wear your, the Rotary paraphernalia. Have these conversations with people. Get them to ask you about Rotary. The best shirt is Rotarian at work. What kind of work does Rotary do? Well, and there's your little pitch. You can tell people exactly what you guys get up to. Just make sure if there's some people who haven't muted your microphones, if you could do that for me, that's great, because I'm just getting a little bit of static in the ear. Okay, so the next thing is we need to tell Rotary story. And I think this is the key component to us and how we promote our organization and how we attract the next generation of members. It's very much story driven, story centric. People are interested in what stories that we have to tell. And we do have a plethora of stories, of Rotary stories to tell. So we just need to find that medium in how to do that. Because stories create action. Stories are people are interested in that, and they create action in a sense that it creates interest. It creates people who want to follow that up. And the current byline for Rotary is "We are people of action." So we really need to emphasize that the stories that we tell do create action, because we are people of action. And so we need to get into some kind of a campaign mode. Now, I'm not necessarily speaking like an election campaign or anything like that, but I'm talking kind of like marketing and public relations campaigns, something that your club or your district can quite easily do in a way of raising public awareness. And particularly, there are 2 dates, and maybe if I'm going to write this down, there are 2 key dates in the calendar year for Rotary, which we can emphasize our public presence and our public public image. One is the 23rd of February, which is Rotary's birthday, or Rotary Day, World Rotary Day. If it's not an official World Rotary Day, it is now, because I've said so. But International World Rotary Day, for us to celebrate our achievements as the very first service club. And the next is the 24th of October, which is World Polio Day. And I know there's a lot of campaigning around that. So those 2 key dates are great for would be awesome for increasing our public messaging and getting to sort of these campaigns. And so I'll talk a little bit about that now. So a couple of years ago, I designed a graphic which was not in this particular one, but this is an updated version. But believe there is good in the world, be the good. And recently, well, this idea took off quite well. And Russell Hampton's, I wouldn't say they stole my idea, but they put the idea onto a T-shirt, and it's you can see it on the front hood of a car and all the rest of it. But more importantly, a couple of months ago, there was a Rotary clubs in Georgia in the United States, and they reached out to me saying, "Evan, could we use your idea? We've been given the opportunity to have a billboard, advertising." Yeah, sure, no worries. I didn't really think too much of that, but anyway, then they sent me the photograph, and I thought, oh wow, this is a really, sometimes, I put out these designs and then I never really reflect back on them. And then suddenly I see it from a different angle. And so this has really inspired me actually now to go forward more with the Be the Good campaign. So I've registered bethegood.com.au. Unfortunately, bethegood.com has been taken, but it's not being used. I'm not sure why, but I'd love to get that .com. But anyway, the point is that this is a tangible message that your clubs and districts can put out. I appreciate Rotary's done the People of Action campaign, all that other stuff, and that is awesome, and we should always also use that too. But sometimes some messaging needs to reach a little bit more, talk directly to that person, which I feel this does. Be the good, believe there is good in the world, and that kind, that sort of also that be the good, doing good in the world is kind of the Rotary Foundation tagline a little bit too. So I've created these graphics, and I'm working with a graphic designer now to refine them to have these available for districts and clubs in various sizes to use in promotion. So if you do have access to billboards or bus shelter ads or on the sides of buses, or got to be out there in the public, I can have these available to you for free. And I'm working on this website, this bethegood.com.au. More is really just a way for people to find out information about what Rotary is, how they can be the good, and then direct them to the rotary.org website or whatever else. So we've got to get into campaigns, and these are sorts of the campaigns that kind of work. The next campaign which I'm sort of well known for, is a Rotary superhero. And this quote by Christopher Reeve: "A hero is an ordinary person doing things in an extraordinary way." And to me, that encapsulates who we are as Rotarians. because we are just regular, ordinary people going about our lives and our businesses or whatever we do. And then sort of when that call comes in, when people need assistance, Rotarians, we spring into action. Where we help with food banks, through the COVID crisis, or, there's hurricanes and typhoons and things that happen around the world, and Rotarians are out there delivering aid, and we do shelter boxes, or we're helping to feed the homeless, or we're building playgrounds, or we're engaging with, scholarships and giving kids opportunities for further education. All these are most amazing things that we do. And we do these things in an extraordinary way. So I feel we really are Rotary superheroes. Yes, that made my point. We are all Rotary heroes. Now, I'm not saying we're like Superman, that we rescue cats out of trees or we're lifting cars above our heads, but seeing, Dr. Noel Jackson's Captain Rotary get up, I'm sure if it could be a fundraiser for rescuing cats out of trees, then go for it. I don't know how popular you'd be in the community throwing cats up the trees to rescue them down for a fundraising fee, but anyway, it's a good idea if you can go with it. But why do people think, oh, surely, we're just a club, we just meet up once a week or whatever it is, and we eat chicken and blah, blah, blah. How can we be superheroes? Well, what acts do we do that is superheroic? Well, we're ending polio. Our organization, we're on the cusp of ending polio. This is a huge milestone for us when we got there. We've already, Africa has declared wild polio free, and we're this close. So once we achieve this, to me, this I think is a huge superheroic thing that our organization has done for many years. The next thing is that we transform people's lives. We transform the communities in which we live and the communities around the world through our works and our efforts as Rotarians, because we are superheroes, because we are people of action, because we are being the good in the world. We also connect with each other, and to me, this is a huge thing that we don't necessarily tend to focus on too much, is that the connections that we all bring. I mean, for example, I'm speaking to you now at 10:20 in Sydney. So the connections that we all have with each other is so important to our organization. And I feel also, particularly through this COVID-19 crisis, that it has actually brought us all together. It has given us a new opportunity for us to be able to connect more with people from around the world and work on those connections. The next is we inspire people. The work that we do is an inspiration to others, and we need to start pushing more of that inspirational work that we do in the stories and how we tell them, so that we can encourage other people to be involved in our organization. We also empower people. And this is really important. We give people the tools and the opportunities to be able to empower themselves to do good in the world. And then the last thing, which isn't so much superheroic, but we have fun. We have fun. And no one can ever accuse me of not being a fun Rotarian. Over the top Rotarian, yes, but never not a fun Rotarian. And I think that's really important for us too, to push that message, is that we as an organization, we can, I mean, I'm serious about Rotary, but I don't take it all that seriously sometimes, the rigid traditions and all the rest of it. So we have to make sure that we really emphasize the fun that we have together, and hopefully that will rub off and encourage others to be involved. So I started this sort of campaign a few years ago as the Rotary Superheroes. I'm a Rotarian. What's your superpower? And I feel that this has really captured people's attentions, and certainly put me in their minds as the Rotary hero. And and as I said earlier in our meeting today, I'd love to catch up with Dr. Noel at the next convention, which more than likely will probably be in person in Houston, I would expect. But bring together some Rotary superheroes, and really go forward with that. See, there he is there. I told you he was in my presentation. You just need a big shield. But, this is a sort of contagious wrong word to use in a global pandemic, but a contagious enthusiasm for our organization. You know, people like myself and people like Noel and other people around the world, we live and breathe the passion of Rotary. And this is what captures people's attention. This is what cuts through all that white noise, because they see someone who's passionate. And in some respects, I do wish that RI would take a little bit more notice of the grassroots passionate people like us and sort of emphasize that. I know the great stuff that we all do, but sometimes a little bit of, bit of a personal approach can sometimes go quite viral and really capture people's imagination. So, and it's also fun, which is always what I think about. Now, look, it doesn't work for everybody, of course, but at least this guy gives it a go. So that's the main thing. You know, it's out there having it a go. So how do we sort of share all these campaigns, and how do we get all this sort of stuff out there, all the promotions, all the rest of it? Well, of course, social media. And 2 billion people are on Facebook each month, and 900 million people are on Instagram each month. So this is where the conversation is happening. People are not relying on community newspapers or television or things like that anymore. People rely on social media to get a lot of their information. So it's really important for us as a Rotary clubs and districts to make sure our messaging goes out on social media. And of course, I know a lot of it already is, but we also have to think about being able to spend some advertising money on that process, on being able to advertise our messaging out on social media. Be it, what we sort of talk about. So this is where the conversation is happening. But with social media, though, it's not just about the like, or anything like that. It's about how we create that positive story. And so simply when people ask me, what does Rotary do? I don't have this 30-second elevator pitch or anything else like that. All I say is we help people. It's what we do. And we've been doing it for 116 years. We help people. It's what we do. And then if they get a little bit more interested, okay, well, how do you help people? Bang, then you can start talking about what your club does. Oh, well, we've helped with a community food bank, and we do this and we do da. But it's creating that narrative, that positive narrative around who we are as the organization, and putting those messaging out on social media. So how do we use social media to attract diverse members? Well, social media is very much a visual medium. And so my little tip for today is from your club's perspective or district's perspective, never put anything out now without a photograph attached. And always make sure there's a photograph that tells that great story. Be it you're talking about Rotaractors, or if there's some kids that's involved in your club, might be involved with Africa or whatever. The social media is that visual medium. So really, pictures do tell 1,000 words. And they inspiring images, they get actions. Where will Rotary take you? That long road, where will Rotary take you? For me, in the 20 years that I've been involved, it's been giving me an amazing amount of opportunities that I could never afford. I could never pay back. But the opportunities that have been afforded to me are amazing. And again, this is the sort of the emphasis that we should be putting on our messaging out there, that the opportunities that are available to you to be involved with Rotary. Now, of course, there will, we all know there will be some Rotarians who only come to a meeting and that's all that they do. And that's perfectly fine. But those people aren't taking the full advantage of their membership. And again, what we should be promoting is the opportunities that are available to Rotarians by being a Rotarian. And think about that when you talk about your club in the community. One thing I don't want to see, though, anymore on social media is when we do eventually get back to our meetings, is images like this. And I see these far too often at sort of district training assemblies or president's training or handover ceremonies. We see the backs of people's heads. Okay, these aren't the images that we want on social media. As my friend would say, stop it, don't do this, don't do it anymore. So we've got to get out of this kind of mindset. We want to make sure we show happy faces, smiling people. The next thing is this, and this has suddenly crept in this year, hasn't it? Is that we see the photograph of our Zoom meetings. look, it looks like we're a poor man's Brady Bunch. Okay, so let's try and think of new ways of how we can engage. So again, my friend Arnold would say, stop it, get to the chopper. So we need to tell great visual stories. And so in the next couple of days, we've got World Polio Day coming up. So we can start putting out, if you've got your polio shirts, I would suggest if you do have a polio shirt handy on the 24th of October, put your polio shirt on, take a selfie and post it onto your own personal Facebook page, or try and get some club members together if that's possible, and put that, or even ask your club members to take a selfie photograph of themselves with the polio shirts, and maybe you can put it all together as a collage of all your members in red, put that up on social media. Tells something different. It tells that great visual story, and be sure to use the hashtags World Polio Day and Rotary International and whatever else. It really creates that great strong message. And so when I talk about, images tell 1,000 words, when I saw this image a couple of years ago, it really caught my attention. Why is there a Rotarian holding a fish above his head? And why is there a 12-foot tall Indian man looking like he's about to kiss it? And so I found out about this club. This club's in my country. It's from the Rotary Club of Woolgoolga. And it's a fishing community. And each year, well, not in 2020, of course, but each year they held a pelagic spearfishing competition. So champion spearfishers from around the world would descend on this little coastal community, catch the fish, and what was caught was donated to the Rotary Club, and the Rotary Club would then auction it off. And apparently it's quite a big fundraiser for the club. But again, the reason why is that this image is just captured my attention, because it's something that we don't usually see. You don't see, they've got George down the front and John Arkin there at the back, but you don't see someone holding a fish above their head. So it created interest, and I wanted to find out more. So not that I'm saying that your club can, I'm not saying to DGEN, are you DGE or N, Jeff? But I'm not saying to Jeff to hold, to hold something. I suppose you are in pigeon. You could hold a pigeon above your head. That would be interesting. But I'm just saying, think outside the box. Think of a different angle on how you can promote your club. So I'm saying that we need to talk about Rotary, and I do it quite a lot. Probably too much. But we need to talk about it. And what do we talk about? Well, the things are, we talk about our key activities. Whether your club does a bike classic, a car show, a fun run, or whatever is particularly unique to you and your club or your district, these are the things that we talk about on social media. We also talk about our club projects. So whether you support Shelter Box, or whether you've got a water project in Guatemala, or you're doing something with maternal and child health, we now have 7 areas of focus that our clubs are involved with, and these are all the stories that can, derive from that we can talk about. But also too, and more importantly, it's also about making it personal, because people do invest in other people's lives. So if you're out and promoting Rotary on your own personal Facebook or other social media, it does generate interest. There is no one in my Facebook friends who doesn't know that I'm involved with Rotary. Even people who aren't school friends, other people who've got no other connection to Rotary, they know that I am in Rotary, because I'm always out there talking about it. I'm making it very personal. So whether you're painting over graffiti like I was, or attending a peace conference, or being a Rotary rapper in New Orleans, can't remember too much of New Orleans at the convention, but anyway, we'll move right along. But it's about making it personal. So what I'm saying is, I want you to talk about you. I want you to tell your friends and family and others why you're involved in Rotary. When did you join? What do you get out of it? Talk about why you're involved. I want you to talk about you. Show your pride on social media. Tell people that you're proud to be a Rotarian. I've got a phone call. Sorry about that. Let me just quickly turn that off. Now, I talk all this great stuff about my apologies. So I talk all this great stuff about social media, all the rest of it. But we've got to make sure we get our house in order first. So all the great messaging and all the great stuff that we do online, that's great. But we've got to make sure we get the house in order first. So if we've got club signs or other bits and pieces out there in the community, make sure that we are, looking at what we're putting out. So if you saw this sign, this is in my district. If this is the state of the sign, what is the state of the Rotary Club? And this is where the pride comes in. This is where they're taking ownership and being proud of your organization. And so a club in my district, Northbridge, there's their old sign there behind the jacaranda tree. And so recently they've just updated their signage. So they've put there with the master brand signature. But the most importantly, what they've done is they've put their website address. So when people drive past the sign, they see the Rotary Club of Northbridge. Okay, they meet at the golf club. Oh, there's their website address. So they'll go visit that. So they've refreshed their branding. And so this is something, again, that's really important to look at what your club is got out there in the community and physical assets. And being sure to use the proper master brand signature and the mark of excellence. Of course, there'll be some public image people there with that, you've got to put the club name underneath the Rotary wheel and all. That's fine. You understand, or your public image chair or whatever understands the details through that. But what I'm trying to say is we want to make sure that we use the proper branding because it makes us look professional. So these logos now, I beg you, it's been 8 years since the logo changed. Please, let's stop using these. And I think also, just on a side note, one of the reasons why these still permeate in community, not so much a lack of awareness, but the fact that these logos can still be easily found on Google. And so I have suggested to RI that they pay Google to suppress instances of these logos coming up. But of course, that's an expensive exercise. But let's try to not use these old logos anymore. And look, even there's me pointing out to my friend Alexis that the Rotary logo on her back now doesn't meet the branding guidelines. And so we look happy in this photograph, but as soon as I said that, she quite told me of what I could do with my opinion about her tattoo, and it involved a Rotary chicken. Anyway, moving on. The other thing is too, is we let's not focus on numbers. We always, in my district, we'll have, or my clubs, we need another 5 members or 10 members to help us do this and all this other kind of stuff. And we focus too much on the numbers and building up the numbers of our district. What we need to do instead is build relationships. We tell our Rotary stories, and in doing so, we invite that person to come on the journey, and buy into the Rotary dream. We don't want numbers, we want Rotarians. We don't just want the sake just for building up the numbers in our club or the numbers in our district. As important as they are, you want lifelong people who want to be involved in our organization, and that means we have to work on building relationships with these people. So work on building those relationships, and do so through the positive messaging that we can put out on social media and other channels. So I'm just coming to the end of my slides, and I really hope there's some lovely questions for me. But just in summary, tell your story. Really important. What does your club do? How's your club any different to the other clubs in your community? What does your club do? So, and what do you do? Tell your story. The next thing is use correct branding. Let's ditch the old logos. Make sure we're using the proper logo. Look at your street signage. Look at what you're putting out on your website. If you've still got the Rotary International theme from 10 years ago on your website, okay, it's time to get rid of that. So look at the branding and make sure that we are trying to put out that professional looking approach. The next thing is use social media. This is really important because on social media, we create the narrative. We're not having to rely on an editor in a local newspaper to put our story out there that sometimes we get wrong. And when I say that, you will all know that the great work that we do and Rotary has done for 30 years with polio, but you would never really know about it when you watch the mainstream news because it's always about the Bill Gates Foundation. As now, of course, we wouldn't be where we are without Bill Gates. But again, I think sometimes either Rotary isn't sexy enough or for whatever reason, we get left to the wayside. So it's really important for us to make sure that we are always saying that, Rotary, we are a huge partner in this, and we've got to keep pushing those stories out there. Please, if you are on social media, which I hope you are, follow my accounts. I am very easily found on social media. So I'm Twitter, Instagram, and my Facebook page. Everything that I put out, graphics and all the other stuff, content I put out is very welcome for clubs and Rotarians and districts to use. By by all means, I have no problems with you reusing it. Go for it. If you think can help tell your stories and help you get some members or help promote your club, by all means, go for it. So please follow me on there. And now I'll open up to some questions, and I'll stop sharing that screen.
Evan,
So, great.
I did get quite a few questions coming in while you were speaking. So maybe if we can just run through some of these questions that were sent to me. And
Sure.
there's a few that were also sent publicly to the group.
Yep.
One question was some clarification on the bethegood.au. What's your goal with that? And can you confirm what the URL will be?
I haven't done anything. All I've done is bought the domain, Rotary bethegood.com.au. And all I was thinking was it to be basically a simple 1 or 2 page website that sort of ties into the Be the Good campaign. So maybe there'll be a flash graphic either done through WordPress or something that says, believe there's good in the world, or, you can be the good. And then basically a simple summary about Rotary as the organization and our areas of focus and how you can be involved. And to get more information about clubs in your local area, please visit rotary.org or something. All it really is just a landing page for information about Rotary. Instead of, because I can't necessarily, if you were to put on, I suppose you could put rotary.org on the campaign too, but I think to try and tie it into that, it's just it's very simple. There's no other ulterior motive to that. And so the URL, as I said, I tried to register bethegood.com, but somebody had already bought the domain, but the domain isn't like the website. There is no activity on that. So I don't know how much it would cost me to try to buy it back from that person, but I've bought bethegood.com.au for $24 for 2 years. So, and I haven't built anything yet. So it's simply just a landing page. So does that answer your question?
I think that answers that question. Another question that we got was curiosity over your thoughts on new club types. So Rotaract, Satellite, etc. Are well-established clubs too often set in their ways and doomed to grow membership?
Look, I think the future is satellite clubs. Yeah, I think the future is these sort of new, like my club, for example, is a really, I wouldn't say it's necessarily revolutionary, but we only meet twice a month. Now we're obviously meeting on Zoom, but say let's just take that COVID out of the equation. So we meet twice a month on a Sunday. Sunday afternoon for coffee. We're Australia's first Rotary coffee club, and we are incredibly family orientated. We have a lot of a large young family and ethnically diverse membership in our club, and we do a lot of international projects, and we do a couple of smaller club-based stuff. But what I like to sort of say with these new satellite clubs and all these other things, new clubs create talking points. So I don't subscribe to trying to change existing clubs so much. If clubs have been doing things the way they've been doing it for 30 years, that's fine. An old dog, what they say, an old dog can't learn new tricks. I wouldn't focus my energy on that. I would be focusing my energy on creating new clubs that offer new ways of doing Rotary. And people always like to belong to something new. So that's kind of where I would focus my energy on. And I kind of think like now buffets really are a bit of a no-no during COVID, but before Rotary really, if you think like with my food analogy here, Rotary really throughout the world pretty much just offered the same old, say, type of meal, steak and potatoes and vegetables. Okay, that's kind of it. That's all you're getting. That's it. At lunchtime, that's all you're getting. But now we have to think like Rotary is a bit of a buffet menu. Oh, okay, well, I like a little bit of this and I like a little bit of that. Bit of satellite clubs. We meet on a Tuesday night at a pub. Great, I'll have a little bit of this. Or we're a lunchtime club that meets on a Saturday and it's young family focused. That's great. Or we're a club that sort of just basically focuses on recruiting military veterans in a way of that supporting. That's great. So we create that kind of buffet. We kind of give people those options because there should really be no barriers to how we can sort of do Rotary. And I know there are some clubs that have got an LGBTQ focus. Some clubs, I said, have already kind of got a military family focus. And so there should really be no barrier to being involved in Rotary. It just takes us to get kind of out of our own egos, so to speak, and create those opportunities for people.
Excellent response. Another question that we have in the chat: what would you suggest for a small club with no budget for public image to promote their club? Let's say that the average age of the club is 65 and not very familiar with Facebook.
So really, that's kind of like nearly every club, every club in Australia anyway. Look, it just takes a little bit of gusto. It just takes someone to start putting things out there. If clubs aren't familiar or you're not familiar with Facebook, get familiar with Facebook. There's you can get from the bookshop the Dummy's Guide to Facebook, that sort of thing, or ask family members to help you. Ask someone younger than you to help set up a Facebook page for your club if you haven't already got one, and learn about things that post. Follow the Rotary International Facebook page. Follow my page. Follow your district page. Follow your governor's. If your district governor has it, if it becomes a friend with the district governor, follow what they put out there. And you don't necessarily have to spend a huge amount of money on public image. You can simply spend as much as $15 to promote a post that you've put out, and Facebook will make sure that that post is seen by the audience that you ask it to see. So I generally say, if you've got an event coming up, say you might be doing for something with Halloween, your club might be doing pumpkin carving or whatever it is, so you could put a post out there of someone carving the Rotary wheel into a pumpkin, and you decide to spend $15 on that, come down to the local town hall or whatever it is to see the Rotary pumpkin carving contest, whatever it is, $10 entry fee, blah, blah, blah. You can pay Facebook to advertise that to the people that live in your community. And so that's a great way of raising awareness. So public image really shouldn't really cost a huge amount of money, but also too, I think it's now time that, and I think it's certainly quite self-evident to our eye, but certainly districts, more energy, money needs to be focused on public image, because I subscribe to the fact that we can't expect people to come and join our organization if they don't know about us, if we don't even know we exist. And how we exist is the fact that we've got to put ourselves out there. We can't let Rotary speak for itself anymore, or we live under, we're all, we put ourselves under a bushel, because it just doesn't happen. We have to be out on social media. We have to be, out there like I do, wearing the Rotary suits, get people talking about it so they understand who we are.
On the backs of that, one person also asked, is there a magic answer for how frequently a club should be posting on Facebook to make an impact?
Yeah. So I would suggest 3 times a week at least. And I'll break it up into what's happening in your community. There's post 1. Post 2 is who you've got coming to speak at your club, or what interesting things are happening in your club for that week. That could also be perhaps a meet the members thing. So if you've got a photograph of one of your club members, post the photograph of them with some questions about who they are and what they do and how long they've been involved in Rotary. The third thing is share something from, like a Rotary International or another kind of Rotary page. And I suppose the fourth would be share what impact Rotary is having in the world. So if there's an international project or something that you see. So, 3 to 4 times a week, I think is quite suitable. You can schedule these things. You can do all this sort of work on a Sunday and set it up to go out at at various times throughout the week. And also the best times that I find to get impact are between about 7:30 and 10:30 in the morning, and about 5:30 to about 8 or 9 o'clock at night. That's when people are sort of either getting home, from work, or traveling, or doing whatever they do, and so they can see those sorts of posts. So that would be good times for that.
Perfect. That answered a follow-up question that was sent in of do's and don'ts. And I did want to say, as a public image chair, I really appreciated you acknowledging the retired logos. We see a lot of that, and I think it's important. We've struggled in our district sometimes with flyers being distributed that are using a lot of not acceptable logos. So I think that that's important that you bring that up for our overall messaging as an international organization.
Yeah, and look, it's gotten to the point now, though, that from RI, and particularly with the Rotarian magazine, or whatever it's called now, the Rotary magazine, that if there are instances of the old logos being used either on people's shirts or something like that, if the photograph's been sent in, they won't publish the photo, or they will ask, if the photoshops the old logos out. So I would think there needs to be now, after 8 years, needs to be a bit of a zero tolerance approach, certainly from district, in regards to old logos. So if, for example, if clubs are submitting any information or things that's happening with their club and it uses the old logos, a kindly email to back saying, I'm sorry, our policy is we cannot publish or promote this particular event or whatever it is, because you're still using the old Rotary logo. And eventually those people are going to get the hint that they need to rebrand, and it's not hard to do. And I think that in some respects the only reason why a lot of us haven't embraced it, or two reasons. One is a little bit of ignorance, and then also the other one is stubbornness. I like the blue. I like the blue on the Rotary wheel. I don't know why they changed. They spent all this money. They could have spent money. Okay, that's fine. Have your whinge, have your whine about it. Great. The fact is, it's been 8 years since the logo changed. It's changed. So it's time to get with the program. So now, James, I see James P. White says, what about your suit with the old logo, Evan? Well, technically not. Technically, my suit is the Rotary wheel. Rotary and the wheel next to it. So my suit is actually correct.
Thank you for that one, Evan. Amy Powell asked, and Amy, you correct me if I'm misunderstanding your question. Can clubs buy his image to use as a fundraiser selling t-shirts, for instance? Amy, I'm assuming you're asking if you can purchase Evan's graphics?
Yes, I was just thinking, like, could we purchase that Be the Good, the image that he's created, and then like make t-shirts or sweatshirts or yard signs to sell as a fundraiser for our local club?
I mean, I'm not a very entrepreneurial person. And I suppose if I was, I probably would have been a millionaire by now with Rotary. But look, no, you can have it. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me at all. I'm getting the designs made up. I'm trying to, and I mean, unfortunately, I'm one of these type of guys that just kind of does things on, which probably doesn't help me out much in the Rotary world. I just sort of do things. If I have an idea, boom, I just go for it. And I seem to get a lot of traction with that. I don't tend to put things through committees and all the other stuff. And I'm sure there'll be someone around the time that will say, oh, Be the Good isn't good. We need to be using the people of action, blah, 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 blah. Okay, that's great. But we need to, I honestly think that there's always got to be something refreshed. You've always got to put out some messaging out there. And so if you can, want to put the Be the Good on a t-shirt, go for it. I'd be hesitant though to put the Rotary logo necessarily attached, or if you're going to put the Rotary logo from your club, I would make sure you put the proper Rotary logo that then has your club identifier on a t-shirt or something. That at least you don't get into trouble, because I know RI get very upset about where the logos get used and all this other kind of thing. But if you feel that you could use that Be the Good as a way to generate conversation in your community about your club, then by all means go for it. If you want to sling me $50, hey, I'm happy to take it, but I'm not asking for it. So.
And furthermore, Evan does provide other graphics for you to share online and via his Facebook page that are perfect for sharing. Also to give us more assets to deliver to our followers and future followers. I did also put a link to Evan's website in the chat box should anyone have more interest in, what he's offering. There's image and a graphics gallery on there, as well as a lot of other information about what Evan's up to.
Samantha, you might also want to put the link. I'm not sure if you're in the Rotary Graphics and Images and Ideas Hub.
I think I am.
Yeah, there's about 8,000 or 9,000 people in that group, and it's myself and there's 4 other admins. I'm not sure if you know Alison Fry from, I'm not sure she's in Ohio. As Blaine Johnson, who was in North Dakota, and then Krista Peterson, who's in whatever is the state next to you guys, Wisconsin? No, not Wisconsin. The other state next to you guys that has the world's largest shopping mall, Minneapolis. Yeah, yeah. So, but we all sort of facilitate that group, and so we don't get all the usual junk that gets put on most of these Rotary Facebook groups. We make sure it's very, very admin friendly, and questions are answered, and it's good quality stuff that gets out on this. It's not just the usual kind of dross that gets put out there. So.
Okay, last question I see here. What is the best way to tie public image and fundraising together?
Well, I suppose one complements the other. If you're wanting to fundraise something, you're going to have to be able to promote it so that people know about it, so that you can raise funds. So I would suggest, I'm not exactly too sure how to really properly answer that, because essentially public image is just another tool in the promotional toolbox on how we use to promote our organization. So I've got to be honest, I don't really necessarily have a definitive answer for that type of question. But I suppose one small thing that does spring to mind was there was a club in the United States, and I can't remember exactly where, but they tied the promotion of Rotary to a fundraising event. And what they did was they had an old car that they stripped of all the, engine and all the other bits and pieces, and they pushed this car out onto a frozen lake. And they they promoted it on Facebook and in the local community. And so people bought tickets on basically the goal was, when do they think the car is going to crack the ice and sink into the lake? And I don't know how it worked, but it had Rotary emblazoned all over the car and all the rest of that kind of stuff. And apparently, like within 2 months or something like that, the car sank, and then they towed it out, and whoever was, won on whatever the fundraising prize was. So, I mean, that was kind of quite a fun way of promoting Rotary and a fun event and generating some funds from that. So, there could be some things, think a little bit outside the box like that.
Wonderful. Well, we are down to about 2 minutes left in the hour. I'd like to be respectful of everyone's time. If Kathy or any of the district governors had something else that they need to add before we thank Evan for his wonderful presentation tonight.
DGs, come on, you're always talking. Now you're like.
They're all muted.
Yeah, I always like collaborating with other superheroes, and that would be every Rotarian, the superhero inside of every Rotarian. No superpowers, just a bunch of friends that help them do amazing things.
And Evan, I want to thank you so much for joining us this evening and accepting our invitation to be here to really make for a wonderful series of sessions over the next, we've got 3 more nights here. So thank you so much, my friend. Always great to see you.
Oh, that's awesome. No, I appreciate that. Thank you. And I hope to see some of you come down under in Melbourne in 2023. Yeah, something like that. It'd be lovely to see you all in Australia sometime. And if you're in Sydney, hit me up.
Wonderful.
I just want to remind everyone, tomorrow night, we're with Mary Beth Brony-Celine at 7 o'clock on the screen.
Great.
Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Evan.
Thank you.
Have a blessed
Thank
evening.
you, Evan.
Thank you guys very much. Hopefully I'll be back in the United States sometime. I was supposed to speak at 3 or 4 conferences in person this year, and hopefully I'll be back there sometime in the next year or two, and hopefully I'll catch up with you all then. Bye-bye, everybody.
Everyone.
Open
Bye-bye.
invitation to Michigan. All right.
Thank you.
Take care.